You're the heart and soul of the hood. Your unique style. Your swag. You got this. Project Under Hood. Welcome to Project Under Hood. I'm Candace, your host, and I invite you to join me as we explore the heart and soul of the hood, from classic movies to real life stories. Before we dive into today's feature movie, Woman Thou Art Loose, I would like to introduce my very special guest, Alehia. Alehia, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here with you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Could you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I am Alehia Renee. I would like to consider myself an artist. I like to dibble and dabble in different forms of art. For instance, acting is like my primary, but I also do like to write sometimes. I do like to create my own content or my own little film sometimes. And right now I'm taking on culinary.
Wow. That's a great list.
Yes.
Yes.
And I also have a podcast as well with my sister Kenya called Made Wonderfully. So I'm also a podcast hoster as well. So we kind of dipping and dabbling in the same industry.
Yes. And I invite everyone to check out her podcast.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're going to dive deep into this movie. I'm going to give you a little backdrop of this. This comes from the scripture Luke 13 and 12, with a woman that was basically she was bent over. She had a spirit of infirmity for 18 years. So basically all she saw was the ground. We'll get into a little bit more of that, the spiritual part of that. But right now I want to give a little backdrop of the movie. It stars T.D. Jakes, Kimberly Elise, Doretta Devine, and I believe Clifton Powell.
It does.
Yeah. So it's about child molestation. It's a very sensitive topic, but it's a topic that needs to be talked about a little bit and shed some light on it and how we can impact our community by being aware of this, okay?
I agree.
So it starts out with Cassie, that's Doretta Devine, and her daughter, which is Kimberly Elise. And basically, Cassie meets someone at, I believe it was at the
Unemployment line.
yeah, the unemployment line. Thank you.
You're okay.
And she meets this guy named Reggie, and they start dating and things like that. And he comes over one day, and he happens to meet Michelle. She's about 8 years old, and that's how Michelle was introduced to Reggie. So I want to ask you, Alehia, first of all, how did you like the movie?
Yeah, so Women That Are Loose is a film I actually watched when I was younger. Don't know if I was supposed to watch it, but I definitely did watch it as a child as well. So I remember when I saw it as a child and being a little bit, traumatized by it, seeing a little bit of it, and then I watched it again more recently as an adult before coming on to today's show. And basically what I take from it is we really do have to do healing within ourselves. I would say it's really good to take that time to heal yourself, especially before having children. We see that in Cassie. She was not healed in that area because she also was touched on by her actual father when she was younger, and her mother just told her to suck it up and move on. That happened to the woman prior to her. So that was something even Cassie's mother didn't heal from, being touched probably by her father, because the advice that her mother gave her was just to suck it up. It happens to all of us. So that means that for generations, nobody took the time to say, hey, we got to pause here a bit. Let's stop and heal. Let's stop and reflect. So I think like a good something to take from the movie is like, hey, as a generation, maybe we should take a moment to pause, we should take a moment to look within. I know a lot of the times in life we don't take that moment, and we just do, and we move, and then life happens, and then you end up pregnant sometimes. But in those situations, it's good to, like, what I really want to, like, let people know before they, have children, is to take that time to do some self-reflection and work on yourself and heal, because before you bring more life into the world, you don't want to put on your own trauma onto your kids. And that's what happened between Cassie and Michelle. When Michelle did confide in her mother about being touched on by Uncle Reggie, she kind of brushed it to the side. She really didn't want to believe her daughter, although I think a part of her deep down inside knew that it probably did happen, which is why she in one scene confronts him with that knife when he comes back into the home. And I think a part of her just felt lonely, like she wanted love too. So I think in the back of her mind, she just pushed it to the side because she wanted to feel something. She wanted to feel loved, and she just ignored the trauma that happened to her daughter. And I think it's because the trauma that happened to herself. If her mother had to tell her to suck it up, she may look at her child and think, well, my own father did that to me, so you got to suck it up too. So I say that to say, I think if we just focus on healing ourselves, we won't repeat those same cycles, and hopefully, a lot of these things can stop. And it goes into her picking the proper mate, because she was in an area where she didn't feel self-love. She chose somebody who was at the unemployment line.
Yeah.
You can't really do nothing for her because he's at the unemployment line. What can you do for you? Can't do for yourself. But that's like a whole nother topic.
Yes, it is.
That's a whole other topic.
Another topic.
But just choosing the people that you allow into your life. Who do you date? Who do you mix and mingle with? Who do you procreate with? And keeping track of those spirits. So, like, not being so into, like, your flesh. I feel like that's why the Bible do tell you to kind of die to your flesh, because you start making decisions that aren't right. Even the Bible scripture that says it's a way that seems right unto man, but in the end leads to destruction. And this is why we see that even with Cassie and Uncle Reggie, it may appear right. He may have had all the things she was looking for on the outside, like to her, he may have been looking good. He may have been checking her out, so now she's feeling good about herself, like how she looks. And feel like, oh, I got me a man, a piece of a man. But what was his character like?
Yeah.
But
you said something very important. So I wanted to really discuss on a little bit more on about Cassie.
Yeah.
Cassie basically picked picked the man like her father, because her father molested her, and her mother basically, like Alehia was saying, just brushed it off. But when she got older, because of the trauma that, she had, she attracted the same kind of man her father was. And this is what we have to really pay attention about, who we have around our children. Is very important, because self-gratification of her wanting to have a man, it doesn't matter what kind of man he is, I just want to have a man there, and it was due to her low self-esteem. And that's the word for today, self-esteem. She had very low self-esteem about herself. Not that it was her fault, but it was past trauma. And this what happened to Michelle. As Michelle got older, what happened to her, she got into drugs. She got into, prostitution and things like that, because this infirmity was not checked. It wasn't checked. I remember growing up, like, my mom's, didn't allow any, just anybody around her, around us, what I'm saying? And if there was somebody around us, trust me, he was getting the side eye, and we weren't allowed, to be around, maybe my mother's boyfriend or anything like that. We were very protected. But that's not to say things can't happen, you know what I'm saying? Because we have this type of behavior in our family. It could be Uncle Bob or Uncle John, you know, and because they're a family member, you know, the child is not believed. You know, the child could go to the mother and say, Mommy, Uncle John, you know, touched me in an inappropriate way. And because that's the uncle, the child is like, hush, hush, because we were taught that, you know, whatever go on in this house, y'all better not say nothing. And we knew better. We were scared. We don't say nothing. But this is not what we want to teach today's generation.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying that we'll go in your house, you're supposed to be opening up your mouth and spilling your mother's business. But when there's some type of, what's the word I'm looking for? Trauma or abuse, or somebody even talking to you in an inappropriate way. It's good to teach your children to speak up.
Yeah.
We have to teach our children to speak up. We have to teach them what's appropriate behavior. I remember seeing the video where a teacher was basically teaching her classmate, this is my, you know, she was pointing to body parts, this, and nobody should touch me. She was telling children that it's okay that if somebody is touching you or said something to you inappropriate, to either you could tell your teacher, you tell your mother first, but if you can't even tell your mother, tell your teacher. You know, go to someone, go to your friend, go to a best friend or someone that you could talk to and let them know what's going on. And even us as citizens, if we see something, right?
Yeah. If we see something, definitely say something. But I feel like that can be, it's about how you go about it, because it could be tricky. You don't want to put the person who is the victim in any more danger.
That's true.
So it's
That's
just
true.
Like, you just got to use precaution about how you go into those situations. So I would say definitely in those situations, if you see something, use discernment, because you never know, like, that situation could end up worse. That situation could end up where now everybody is dead because that person has a gun or that person has a knife, and now it can just use like discernment. If you see something, see if there's like maybe a police officer nearby where you can kind of like wink and be like, hey, like something funny going on over there, you know.
Okay.
Trap. So it's like, you know, just use discernment and see what would be the best way for you to approach to help somebody.
Yeah, that's true.
I would say that, yeah. But another thing that I really did take from Women That Are Loose is about forgiveness. What happens when you are bounded to your past, when you're not able to let go of your past?
That's true.
You can destroy your future.
Yes.
Sadly, we did see that with Michelle.
Yes.
Because she was so traumatized, she ended up on drugs, being a prostitute,
Yes.
ended up in jail. And then when in the movie, when Bishop C.D. Jakes, because he knew her mother Cassie, was able to get her out on probation, and part of her probation was to go to church service, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But to go to the revival, and she actually was getting better until she saw Uncle Reggie, and that's because that part of her hadn't yet been healed.
Yes.
She hadn't really been able to confront that part and be healed. And I think what probably triggered her was probably hearing that for all these years she was told she was a liar. She was told she was being fast. She was told she was a liar, and no one believed her.
And the fact that her mother stayed with the dude, all these years, it made it, worse.
Made it worse. And then even in the film, prior to that end scene, when she says to her mother, "How can this be the house of the Lord when people like you go here?"
Right.
So then I think what triggered her was like seeing him there.
Right.
Because it's now like, wait, first off, my mom's here. My mom go here, but then you now? You up here? And so I think for her, that probably triggered her. But then also, like I was saying, for all those years, she was told that she was a liar, that it never happened.
Right.
Imagine like something that was so traumatic happening to you, and you have somebody looking you dead in your eyes telling you it never happened. And then you're getting confronted by the person who did it, and he's saying he's sorry. Him saying he's sorry is a mission. So
but he was saying sorry like to God first, right?
No, if you watch the film, when she sees him,
right,
and
at the altar,
turns to her and he opens his arms and he says, "I'm sorry." That's
right,
not
that's
God.
true, right, yeah.
That's directly to Michelle.
No, you're right,
So
yeah.
in that moment, what's happening is, for all those years, she was told she was a liar. It never happened. You're being fast. It was probably the little boy up the street that did this to you. Him, this, that, and the third. All of that blame going back onto the victim. Now you having the person that victimized you look you in your eyes with open arms saying, "I'm sorry."
Yeah.
And it's like, for that, it was probably overwhelming. It was too much.
Right.
Because for all of those years, imagine somebody telling you you're making it up in your head.
Yeah.
So it's like, now you have these thoughts like, am I going crazy? Am I wrong? Am I looking at it wrong as a child? I'm thinking like he doing something wrong to me, but people telling me it's not wrong. But now I'm having somebody tell me, yeah, what I did to you was messed up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Forgive me. It didn't, So like for her, it was probably like, yeah, I can't let go of that. It was probably too much.
I think that he took too long. To me, he took too long, and I saw it as when he came to the altar, that he was basically in his heart was saying to God that he was sorry, and then now she's going up there to release her trauma.
Yeah.
She's going up there to release her infirmity, and to see Reggie there, and now you opening up your arms to say, "I'm sorry." Now look what happened to me. I've been on drugs, I've been in jail, and you've been living with my moms, and my moms is against me, and now it's like what they say, $1 late, or whatever they're saying. You're too late.
Yeah.
You're too late. And so she releases, and shoots him. Sadly that it came there, and this lets us know, like, when we hang on to the trauma, it wasn't Michelle's fault, but at the same time, she was trying to, even in prison. The prison ain't the exact good place to get therapy and something like that, but it didn't work for her, and then she comes out and then have to live in this halfway house. She can't even really go back to her mother's house. It's like throwing salt on a wound again. You know what I'm saying? And we have to really try to really help people to get over. Sometimes it takes a village to even help people to heal, from this type of situation, and we really have to protect our children. We really have to protect our children. We have to start out with better self-esteem for ourselves, because when you have better self-esteem about yourself, you're going to have self-awareness. You're going to have self-awareness about who's around you. You're going to have awareness about yourself, that if you have any flaws or even areas that you need still healing in, you're going to seek that proper help. You're going to seek help to get that, healed, so you can be a better parent, a better wife, a better friend, or just better to you. Just for yourself, because we're all on that journey. I know I'm on that journey of having better self-awareness about myself, But this is not about me right here and right now. This is about the movie Woman Thou Art Loose, about child molestation. And we see it happening in our community. And this podcast is a space where we watch movies, like I explained in my first episode. We watch the movies, but we look at the movies and we see how it can help us. What topics that we can actually, when we're sitting down watching these movies, we can have our child there. We can have an open discussion, and you never know, the child, or it could be a teenager now saying, "You know what, mommy, I never told you this, but this is what happened." And you have to be able to listen to the child, because personally, I know someone that happened to, that the person told their mother and they didn't believe them, and it's due to what happened to them when they were little. And it carries on, and we don't want to see that. We want to be a well-rounded community. We want to be well-rounded parents, friends, people that, we can show others to be that way. We can free them to be that way too, you know.
And then I just want to also add another point to like this conversation, because I feel like this conversation has so much nuance to it. And as a community, when it comes to like serving and being there for one another, of course, like when it comes to like the victims of, sexual trauma, sexual abuse, we want to be there and we want to stop it before it happens.
Yes.
Like we were saying, like making sure you have right people around you, but sometimes it can happen as an adult to you.
That's true.
So it's just like the topic itself has so much nuance around sexual assault itself, and the nuances to what is sexual assault is very broad. Like it's a lot of things that can be considered sexual abuse and sexual assault within that topic, because we even see it in the movie when Cassie tells Michelle that she's being fast, right?
Right.
We often sometimes push it back to the victim. Oh, you shouldn't dress that way. Oh, you shouldn't look that way. Oh, you shouldn't go out past this time. Oh, you shouldn't do that. But then what about the person that's doing the abuse, right? So as a community, that's somebody's child, right?
Exactly.
That is the abuser. So how do we parent so that we don't raise abusers?
That's a good point, because
I feel like that's where it needs to stop, because we can't look at the victim and tell the victim, hey, you should stop. I mean, yes, in certain areas, there are areas where we can use discernment and we can make better decisions, but at the end of the day, that's not that victim's fault. Yes, they can probably use better discernment in certain areas, but I don't feel like we should victimize the victim by telling them.
So you say in a way that we're raising abusers in some kind of way,
Well, they have a parent.
Right,
so, they didn't.
No, I'm just bringing it out so the viewer audience can get a better understanding. And I agree, because sometimes we take a blind eye to our children. No intended judgment on anybody, because I'm a parent and I can honestly say some things I did take a blind eye to. And the repercussions of it is not good. You know what I'm saying? So we want to, when we know better, we want to do better. So this is a no judgment zone, because I'm putting myself on Front Street by saying that. I'm not going to tell all my business, but I'm going to be that example that when we see our children doing certain things, we have to check them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We can't just let them just do what they would. Okay, we want to be their friends, but the first thing, we got to be a parent. You know what I'm saying? Or no, we didn't get a instruction book, and sometimes we do wrong. We don't do the right thing. I have, and I had to eat that. But I'm here if I can tell you and I could see something and I'm close, like if I'm around you, say you had your child there and I saw, say, Alehia, I saw Jimmy do blah, 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 he was talking to the little girl fresh and, I saw, and then you get offensive and say, my child is not like that. You know what I'm saying? We're not really loving them. We're allowing them to grow up with that type of spirit.
Yeah. So,
you agree? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Agree.
So we want to do better. This is what this movie, Woman That Are Loose, we're not just talking about the victim. We want to talk about the predator too. How can we have less predators walking these streets? You know what I'm saying? We're not glorifying them, but we want to get to the root of it. Yeah. We really do. We want to get to the root of this.
Yeah. So like in the case of, because there are different predators, women could be predators too, but in this movie the predator is a male, so I'm gonna just talk on that topic of male predators.
Clifton Powell, which he played that part.
So from the point of view, from the male predator perspective, when we have boys, like we tell girls, don't be fresh, don't be this, but then we don't have those same type of stipulations on the boys, children that we're raising up, right? So I think it's like, as parents, I'm not a parent yet, but I do think as a person that is a child, I feel there has been a child that I think as a person that has been a child,
Okay,
when it comes
good.
to parenting advice for boys, I would say treat the girls and the boys, like the same, like when you're raising.
Right,
Because I
right.
feel like with girls, they put a lot of pressure on us girls, to talk a certain way, to be a certain way, to not dress a certain way, to present yourself a certain way. But then it's like, what do we do with our boys?
That's so true.
Do the boys get the same treatment of like how to talk to a person, like how to be respectful to a person? But also, a lot of people that are become predators were once victims as well. So
Yeah, a
talk
lot of
to
time.
to the boys about like, okay, this nobody should be touching you here. Nobody
That's
should be doing that,
right.
because
That's
a lot
right.
of the times, boys, you gotta be tough. You can't cry. You
Exactly.
can't do that. So then they never know how to properly emote
That's
their
right.
feelings. So even if it's not them
They can't get it out.
right. So even if it's not them being touched on as a child, if you don't even allow them the space to just be and to talk, then they're building up this anger, and then they're building up this aggression, and then those aggressions can then come out to like how they treat other people, and they may be like more aggressive, willing to take
That's so
without
true.
asking permission, and it shows up in little ways. So if you see somebody, it may be a cookie, and they're just willing to take it without asking permission, it can lead into them trying to take something else without asking permission, without
That's so
getting
true.
consent.
Yes.
Because it starts in little ways
little
first,
things.
and then it builds up. Because if they have that entitlement to, well, I can do whatever I want, I can get whatever I want, it can then show up in different ways, and they can become predatorial. So I think it's one, having that open space where they can just come and be able to talk and be able to show emotions without being judged.
Without being judged.
Because if they don't, then they'll build up all this anger inside, and it may come out in different ways. But if they are also being victimized, you want to have a safe space where they can talk about that.
Right.
Because often the times, a lot of people may not know, but there are so many males that have been sexually abused.
That's right.
That is not reported.
Right.
They do not talk about it
Because they don't take
reported.
it. They don't take it serious.
They take it as a joke. Even like when it's but even when it's like a woman that molests a boy, it's not taken serious. They take it as, oh well, he's a boy. He must have enjoyed it, and it's like, no.
Right. And you would think
that was a predator, and
Yes.
that was a child. This is still molestation. This is
and
still
people
rape.
really think like that.
But they think, oh, it's a boy. He must have enjoyed it. And it's like, no, this is a victim. Like, this is a victim. And then it later on turns out to now they start to victimize other people. Not to go on the sideway, but that's literally what happened to R. Kelly. He was being touched on as a child.
Disclaimer. I just wanted to say that. Go ahead.
Completely ignored.
Right.
His abuse wasn't taken as abuse.
Right.
Look where he is now.
That's right.
I'm just gonna leave it as look as where he is now.
That's true. And another thing, we were taught to be seen and not heard. I know those old sayings, cliches that we were brought up on. They're not always necessarily the right thing, to be seen and not heard. So now you got this stigma. Now I got to be quiet. You know what I'm saying? I can come on the scene, but you better be quiet. You know what I'm saying? We want our children to be able to, like Alehia say, to be able to come to you and to be able to articulate what they're feeling without being told to be quiet. And another point I want to bring out, that you don't have to be a parent yet to know these things. It's better to learn about all these things before and be informed before you do have children. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us wish we could go back and do that. So you don't have to be a parent. You know, some people might say, "Well, you didn't have a child. How do you know?"
That's why I wanted to disclaim. Like, I'm not.
You don't have to have it. You don't have to have a child to want to learn how to be a better parent, or a mother, or a father. To be able to be well equipped to help your child. So this movie, Woman Thou Art Loose, is a great movie to watch. We didn't give everything because we want you to watch. The link will be down in the description area for you to watch the movie. The movie is not new, but there might be people that did not see the movie. It's a great movie. I wanted to go back to the scripture when I was talking about, she had an infirmity for 18 years, okay? She was bent over. So basically she was looking at the ground. She only saw people's feet, and metaphysically we can be bent over, where we're just looking at circumstances at a low vibration, we're not rising up. We're not evolving and becoming better and better and better because of, what may have happened to you. You may have went through some deep trauma and things like that. You was told you wasn't going to amount to nothing. You may have been in and out of jail. You may have maybe used drugs a lot, and you just stay bent over, Now is the time, and I speak this with all my heart, for healing, I'm asking you out there, the viewers, that if you're going through something, if you feel bent over, if you feel like all you're seeing is dark times, try to get some help. Speak to somebody, go to the church, to the mosque, or a friend.
Therapy. There are hotlines. I know
hotlines.
There's a 988 hotline that you can call if you are having suicidal thoughts or anything like that, mental health challenges, mental health concerns. 988 is a resource that you can call to get help for all of that.
Yes, you can get help. So as we wrap this up, I also want to say, once again, the word of today was what was it?
Esteem.
Self-esteem. And self-esteem, like it says, self-esteem starts with you, with yourself. But sometimes it takes other people to help build up your self-esteem. We have to help each other to build up a self-esteem. So if I see you doing something like your podcast and everything, I'll be like, you go, girl, and encouraging one another. That helps to build up. But ultimately, you have to work on your self-esteem. And a good way to do it is that when you say that you're going to do something, even if it's going to the gym, keeping your word to yourself builds your self-esteem. If you say you're going to get up, exercise, do it. We all know we fall off from time to time, but get back on track, build up that self-esteem, because you can make it. You could do anything that you set your mind to, and it's not too late. Look at me. It's not too late. I said, I'm going to start this podcast. I'm going to do this. And I'm doing it. And each time that I do it, I feel better. There's no age limit to continue to build your self-esteem. So once again, I want to thank my wonderful guest, Alehia Renee. Thank you for being on my show.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And you're welcome to come back anytime. Okay? Anytime. And I would like to say thank you to my viewer audience. Until next time, stay strong, stay safe, and stay understanding the hood. Bye-bye.